Oh my gosh, there are two thumbs up already and we haven't sat together. That's a delightful surprise. Hello, my name is Andrew Leonard. I'm a certified mindfulness meditation coach in the Unified Mindfulness System. I'm a software engineer. I am, what else am I? Human being, somebody who likes to do very little, often nothing. Welcome. This is part of the ongoing experiment. It seemed like Wednesdays were a decent time for some people, at least with the time difference. So I live in Arizona. This is 8:15, so maybe you're winding down. Hello, Gabrielle. Um, Gabrielle, by the way, sat in the old thing I did called Afternoon Idol, like back in like late 2020, 2021, I think, too. So thank you, Gabrielle. Her like maybe 4 or 5 regulars for that. So that was an experiment that I had before I got my current job. And I had less time to do that. And so now I'm kind of back to trying to experiment with a little bit of things. There's the possibility that in-person and hybrid stuff might be a thing here in Tucson. And Jeff has been lightly nudging me about the idea of there being a CEC affiliate in Tucson, or CEC Tucson. So those are some of those things. Hello, Sybil. I'm glad you made it. Hello to. I hope your Thursday is going well. So that's some of the background stuff, and then I'm beginning the process of trying to figure out what doing some one-on-one coaching looks like. Hello, Anna. I know Anna and maybe Gabrielle was here last time, and Colette, Lisa. I think we had maybe 5 people in chat last time, so that was kind of cool. So the plan is to do a little bit of something and finish with nothing, which is kind of what we did in the Afternoon Idol thing, where I was mentioning that Gabrielle had been part of, and those old live streams are somewhere on the YouTube channel here, if you're curious for that. And there's Colette, welcome, and Jennifer, awesome. And I forgot again off the top to say, hopefully you can hear me. If not, I'm doing well pantomiming. When we were doing the Afternoon Idol, we were doing contrasts. We were doing a little bit of something and then nothing, and playing around with what it feels like to have a technique and then to let that technique go. And I always thought that was kind of this interesting way of calibrating, how much of a technique do you need? And I got that idea from Jeff. I gave there's these unplanned session talks at software conferences, and I applied and I managed to get enough votes to give this talk on Nixon, which is this Dutch word that means to deliciously do nothing. And Jeff's idea or suggestion to me was to guide a meditation in person with some technique, and then to let that technique go, and that gave you an idea of the two pieces. So I'm going to kind of play around a little bit with that as the format for this, as we play around with what this will be. We're going to sit for 25 minutes, but we'll cap it off with 5 to 6 minutes at the end, where it'll be let go. I like to borrow Jeff's prompt around just letting ourselves coast. You'll often hear him use that as a prompt in the daily trip meditations. The idea that, as we're implementing a technique, we're kind of pedaling our bike, keeping ourselves going, staying upright, we're balancing as we go. And then with do nothing, it's kind of we're letting ourselves coast. We're we've made it to that little hill and we can kind of coast on our way down. So hopefully that is part of the experience. And then I'm playing around with the topic of sort of laid back, the dude abides kind of quality that came up in the survey. Some people had said they liked the sort of dude, the Big Lebowski kind of reference as a thing to play around with. So that's what I've been playing around, or that's or will be. And then I have next week set up already for this time. So 15 minutes past 8 o'clock on the East Coast, and then 5 o'clock in Pacific, in between your 7 and 6 if you're in the Central and Mountain. So Tucson is Pacific time during the summer, and we are Mountain time during the winter. So I get to live both. All right. So hopefully that gives you all enough. I don't know if there's anybody that is here but hasn't been to the Do Nothing Project. I'm leaning a little bit on your familiarity with the Do Nothing Project, maybe more. So if you do have questions, you can put those in chat. Chat's there or chat's there. One of these days I'm going to figure out which side it's on. All right. So we got 25 minutes on the clock. I'll ring the bell and begin. So we'll start by establishing our posture. And if you're seated on a cushion, then just sort of making sure your legs are loosely arranged so that as your legs cross, you don't have too many pressure points. If you're sitting in a chair, which is totally fine, an amazing option, you may want to play with having your feet flat on the ground. And then finding a way to position your hands that'll help avoid kind of moving and fidgeting. So that might be kind of loosely putting them in your lap, sort of left hand on right is very common. You could always do the cosmic mudra that Zen folks do, or the palms facing down on the thighs or knees. And then just checking to see what the position of your shoulders are. We're at the end of a work day, and so you may have noticed your shoulders are kind of creeping up towards your ears, so down and back if they can be. The shoulders are over the hips. And so we're stable and heavy from the waist down and light and buoyant from the waist up. And then the spine is upright but not uptight. And then checking to see if you have any tension. You'll know where you hold your tension better than I will, but you might want to check in to see if there's tension maybe in the neck, the jaw, the eyes. And sometimes just bringing your awareness to that location will cause it to release. And if it doesn't, it's your first opportunity to bring a no big deal attitude to our sit tonight. And then a few calming, deliberate breaths, breathing in through the nose and out through the nose. And breathing in through the nose allows us to breathe in slow, and that allows us to breathe low into the belly. So slow and low is our tempo we're aiming for, as the Beastie Boys say. And so this is our sort of first waypoint. Just marking that. If you want to, you can stay right here, sort of just sitting and knowing that you're sitting. But for tonight, I thought we would play around with hearing and potentially the absence of sounds as our focus. So if you want, we'll use hear, H-E-A-R, as our label. And we can label mental talk as hear. That's our sort of inner hear. And then we have an outer, like the sound of my voice. Maybe you can hear the ceiling fan that I have going, or the fan on my computer. It would be like a hear out. And when we choose space like sound or hearing, we may end up in a situation where there isn't anything that we're hearing. So maybe we went from sort of sound of a car and then the car goes away. So going from that activity to reduced sort of activity or nothing there, you can think of that as a sort of auditory rest. So if you're focused on sounds and you're using that as your home base and then sound goes away, you can label that rest. So again, our focus, our home base, sounds, inner and outer. If you want, you can use here as your label. And if there are no sounds, or you notice a sound peak and then go away, label that rest. And I'll let you explore a bit with that and check in. So when we're using a noting technique like this, the labels are optional. There's sort of a certain knowing that you've heard a sound. You don't need to label it here. So if you feel like the label isn't helping you sort of soak your attention in and notice, you feel like the label is distracting you, you can experiment with dropping the label. So one thing to try out if you're not used to working with that. And then if sounds aren't your normal home base, you may notice that you sort of gravitate back to the breath or back to a mantra or the body. So it's totally fine. The noticing that you're doing that when we've set the intention to focus on sounds, that's the key thing. So notice that and see if you can shift back. And then the last thing it sounds a little quirky, but you can kind of hear with the whole, maybe is the best way to put it. So just seeing if you resonate at all with that. So if you're feeling like the body is left out with sound as your home base, see if you can hear with the whole body. All right, keep going. Okay, so just like you have the option to kind of allow my prompts to be in the background and not do anything with them. If sound is your home base is working out really well, then just keep going. But I want to offer a little chance to shift into neutral, and we'll finish with do nothing. So we're letting go of the technique. We're not doing anything to guide or direct or control our attention anymore. We're just allowing our attention to free float wherever it wants to go. And then if we notice that letting go of the attention, then suddenly we start to direct it again. We let that go. And if you do that a few times, if you do that 2 or 3 times, like you keep noticing you're going back to the breath, and then you let go of it, and you keep going back to the breath. Just let that be where the attention wants to be. So that's not an intentional thing on your part. So enjoy this last bit of do nothing. was a little loud. Sorry if I got anyone with the startle on that. Apologies. You also might not hear me. On my end, it looks like you can hear me. We'll just see. Thank you for your practice. Thank you for sitting. Thank you for making it on the middle of your week, your Wednesday meditation. Excellent. Thank you, Colette. Thank you, Gabrielle. Did lose the audio. Okay. Thank you, Jennifer. Interesting. Awesome. Welcome, Maggie. Okay, good to know. I've been doing meditation instruction practice in the mornings. And I've had a whole host of technical difficulties, and it's been an interesting deal. Oh, great. Okay. Thank you, Gabrielle. That's great feedback, too. And you're incredibly welcome. Thank you all. I really appreciate that you've taken time out of your day to come sit. Questions, reports, you can totally put those in chat. And also, if you're off to whatever Wednesday evening holds for you, or Thursday if you're like Sybil and you are across the international date line. Thank you, Sybil, for checking us out. And then hello to Saban, also a fellow Arizonan. So yeah. So if you have any reports or anything or questions, you can put them there. You can always put them in the comments too if you're. So I did notice there are a few people that watch the recording after. So you can put this in the comments, and I'll try to be good about checking out the comments. So we'll do same time next week. That'll be the 31st, the end of. Oh, excellent. Cool. Yeah, the mental noting. I actually, when I first started meditating, I like to play with the label, dropping the label, and then adding it back, and even you can kind of tweak the tone of how you mentally note the label, and then sometimes people will ask questions around sleepiness, and if you're in an environment where you're not disturbing other meditators, spoken labels is incredibly helpful for getting that support on the knowing and the attention and the location, which I always thought was kind of I didn't get to practice that a lot when you're out on retreats because you're just annoyed the heck out of everybody around you. So that's excellent to hear. So, well, thank you again. 7 a.m. my time, which I think is 10 Eastern, so 10, 9, 8. I will do breath focus meditation. If you want to get Buddhist-y, it's called Shamatha Vipassana or Vipassana. And that'll be the meditation I'm going to do in the morning. That is the technique for the meditation teacher training that I'm currently in at the moment. Okay, feel better with an anchor. Interesting. Yeah, so when you let go of the anchor, so that's to me that's like really good information to know. And I do hopefully, so Jeff does this, I know, hopefully I do it too, is offer an anchor if you need it. So like that's one of those kind of things to play with. So Jeff and I both have a background with practicing with Shinzen Young's techniques, and Shinzen will talk about the tuning your technique. So if you feel really spacey, then labeling helps. But if you feel really racy, or you feel kind of like you're in this like gotta catch them all thing where you're like, I want to make sure I make every single label and I note it as exactly as possible, then letting off of that is a way to handle a little bit of that frenzy. And so the do nothing kind of helps back and forth between that. So knowing when to kind of ease up and knowing when to sort of bear down, and that gives you this ability to play around a little bit with your technique. And so Jeff likes to talk about that, especially from a being your own teacher, democratizing mental health perspective. And I think that's really kind of cool, so that you have a notion of what you can do with your sit as you sit. So, which is cool. Well, thanks for the feedback and the points of sharing how that sit was for you. Again, we'll do it again next week, and then I'm kind of figuring out June. So yeah, that's yeah. I'm cribbing from Shinzen, who's got like 60 plus years of meditation experience and teaching. So I think it's I really resonate with that sort of spacey, like I don't have anything to kind of hold on to part. So cool. All right. Have an excellent week, and I will be in the chat on Sunday for the Do Nothing Project. Bye now.